What's up, ninjas? My name is Samworld, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys about drum processing so that you can go from being a zero to a motherfucking gangsta. But hero sounds a lot better, right? Now, if you're watching this video, your clap probably sounds like you slapped a thin ass. You didn't slap a juicy ass, so we're gonna get you there. Your hats are probably sounding like that one friend that, hey, what's up, bro? Did you like get the new side methods, sample packs? Now, just like with anything in life, guys, you know, if you do too much EQ, too much compression, too much protein shake, please don't comment me going like, yo, San, I saw your tutorial, I did what you said, and my drum sounded worse, you fucking suck. You know, I'm obviously ask you like, let me see what you did, and then I see your fucking EQ, and I'm like, well, bro, there's the damn problem. I said to boost the highs, not create a motherfucking mountain. Homie's going higher than Everest on the highs. Of course, my tutorial's not gonna fucking help you. Moderation is key. Now, for this tutorial, guys, I'm gonna be using something I just cooked up in 10 minutes with the brand new Confessions Revolution Volume 3 pack. And as always, if you want to support my channel, you can go over to Evil Sounds. Confession Revolution Volume 3 is coming out this Friday for you G-House producers out there. So make sure to check it out. And if you like the sounds in this video, if you like what you hear on the page, you know, seal the deal, marry it, purchase it, support my channel so I can keep making these videos for you guys and teach you guys how to go from zero to gangsta. And again, I'm putting fucking hero because fucking YouTube's anal as hell like that. Now let's get started.
Alright, fam, welcome all to Ableton Ninja, fam. So again, we're gonna be going from zero to a motherfucking avenger, a hero. So we're gonna avenge these drums because they damn well need it, okay? So pretty much, as you guys can see, we have nothing on the drums, and we have this track here that I made in 10 minutes. Did I say that? So you know, I feel a little bit better about myself second. So this is how it sounds. This molly got me feeling all kinds of ways. Alright, guys, so we're going to get into some cool drum processing and also some cool tricks for drums that you guys can use. So, again, don't let anyone fool you. It's not complex to process stuff. It's more about being tasteful about it, being basic about it, okay? You know, if you hear someone saying, I put 5 compressors on a motherfucking kick, then they're either one trying to impress you in the wrong way, or two, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So, okay, guys, the first step that you really want to do is you want to bust your drums, okay? And a lot of times you can choose to bust all of them or bust all of them except the kick, because sometimes you might do some aggressive processing to your drums, depending on what you want to go for. So for this one, I'm gonna bust everything together as a whole, and I might choose to get the kick out of there if I feel the kick is screaming for help. It's fucking drowning. All right, so pretty much these are gonna be the drums here, guys, and you can already see it's a fucking mess. So the first step that we're going to talk about, guys, here is, I get this question asked a lot, is like, yo, Sam, what level should everything be at? It, like, you know, it's a motherfucking, like, I know the damn answer to that. And it's always going to be different, okay? But there's are a couple tips I can give you straight away to just, you know, figure this out, okay? The first step to level stuff is that you can level stuff like the hats very well, and maybe the kick drum, especially when you have a song playing. The reason for this is because if the hats are playing really loud and you see a motherfucking mountain over here, like I said in the intro, Mount Everest, you're creating a fucking Mount Everest over here, then you know you got a problem, homie. So pretty much check this out. You can see that's just too much, you know, so I'm going to lower down the hats. Now, usually the hats should be equally as loud as the kick. They can be a little bit louder or they can be quieter. It just depends on the kind of processing and kind of vibe you want to go for. So what I'm going to do instantly is just lower these guys down, because right now I'm bursting eardrums. I'm developing tinnitus in your motherfucking ears, and I don't want to get sued. So I'm going to lower this down a bit. Around there. Now let's get the offbeat. And then let's lower the perk, because that thing is too loud. You know, White Boy is going ham on that perk there. So let's. All right, so once we have that, now we can get to work a little bit better. Now, the clap, usually, again, the level of the clap is usually mainly using your ears, guys. So a lot of the times you want to put it at a point where it's really not overpowering the kick, but it has a really good balance where the clap's not like pass, but it's a little bit like dun, and it fits just right. All right, there we go. So now once I have everything level, I can do a couple of things. Now, the first tip I'm going to give you, if you guys are, you guys are like me and you have a damn hack going like this, one of the things you can do to instantly make it sound a lot better is use an LFO tool on it as you would sidechain anything else so that it gets a bit more swing. So that's going to give us this. Check it out. And we're going to solo this. It gives a lot more swing, as you can see. But the other thing that you can do, since you have this motherfucking mess that's just like we can Control J that, so it consolidates it into a full loop for us. We can go into the groove pool here, grab an MPC, preset, drop that in, commit it, and now you're gonna get something like this. Check it out. Sort of sounds like something's getting sidechained, right? But it adds more groove to your track now because so it's all about finding that right one that you really like. So if you didn't like that, you can just, undo what you did there with that and then try a different one, like maybe double down on some. And I like that one a lot. So I think I'm gonna go with that one, and I'm still gonna add that sidechain of. But you don't want to add sidechain to anything else like the clap because the clap's hitting with the kick. Now, another thing you could do with the clap is you can just delay it by a little bit. So you can kind of shift it just a tiny bit by, the narrowest of seconds so that it doesn't land on the kick. So as you can see, the sample, I did that on purpose for you guys so that it's a little bit ahead. Now, another cool tip that I can give you is if you usually see claps and you look at them really specifically, like you go down on them, you know what I'm saying? Down on them. And you see that they're not lining up properly. That means this clap is most likely going to sound wide because the phase on the left and the phase on the right are not aligned properly. So you get a wide vibe. So whenever you hear someone saying, hey, you fucked up the phase, bro, that just means that you messed up the timing. So originally what you would want is like down here in the hat, you can see it's identical on both left and right. So when you add anything that messes up phase or wide and stuff, a lot of times you're doing it this way. Here's the left hit and then the right hit you can see. So that creates a bit of a phase, as many people would say. So keep that in mind. It's not that bad, but keep in mind when you hear it in mono, you're going to hear this kind of sound to it. So you got to be really careful with that. All right, cool. So once there, let's get straight into the clap. Now, when it comes to processing claps, guys, there's a couple of things that you can kind of get into. First off, EQ work. So with the EQ on a clap, what you really want to do is get rid of lows you're not using. From there, if you feel like the clap is lacking something, maybe in the style of music you're making, there's a lot more body to a clap, then you can use an EQ to boost around the mid-lows. So around the mid-lows is where you're going to find the body of a clap. When you're making a clap, especially, like a synthesized clap, usually what happens is that you do this LFO shape, which has 3 attacks to it. It's going to look something like and then you use a bandpass. So with that bandpass, you focus in on one frequency. So if you want to make claps that have a lot of highs, you move the bandpass more to the right. And if you want to make a clap that has more mids, and you move it more to the center. So if you feel like the person that made the clap, you like the clap, but they didn't move it enough to the left for your taste, you can always try and fix that with a bit of an EQ right here. So you can see right here, this one's being really nice. And then we can also maybe do it here. So that's going to give us more body. Now, when you're doing EQ work, make sure to do A and B with the mix. So you go in here, everything as a So I like how that has a little bit more body, a little bit more thickness to it. A lot of you guys say I'm a little bit chubby, and I'm cool with that because sometimes we want chubby for our clap. So pretty much, as you can see there, we're going to be doing that. Now, when it comes to compressing a clap, this one is where a lot of people start to do stuff like this. Compression on a clap, you're trying to control something. So maybe you don't like something about the clap. You don't think it's punchy enough, or you think it's too it's too punchy. Then you can use stuff like compression to mess with the dynamics, the attack and release of the clap to get it to sound good. So let's say you feel like it has it's too punchy, then you can use an attack, lower that down on the compressor, down all the way, so that compressor acts immediately, and then we pull down on it. So that loses, as you can see, that initial hit because now we're compressing down on it. But let's say you want to make it punchier, then you can increase the attack to around 50 or, around there. Let's get rid of this now. Be careful with the clipping. There is some clipping going on, but you got to be really careful. So notice how it makes it punchy, and that's because the compressor is letting the initial transient of that clap, is aka this little part here, come through, and then it's compressing everything behind it. So that creates a more punchy effect because everything behind it is getting reduced in volume, so we just hear the tap. So if you want that, you can have it like that. Now keep in mind, you are clipping, so one of the things I would suggest you do is you gain stage down, or you can just lower the out of here. But I'd rather use this because honestly, it's hard to fucking look at that. So simple as that. Again, if you want to get rid of the transient on the clap, use a compressor with a very low attack. If you want to increase the transient, use a compressor with a high attack. And keep that in your head and practice doing it on various types of claps, as that's the only way that you're actually going to get into it. But I actually like the way it sounds like with this compressor, so homie's going to leave it. All right, now let's move to our hats. Now our hats are mainly going to be made up of a lot of high frequencies. They're made with white noise. So pretty much what we're going to be it's just getting rid of everything below it. You can add a little bit of air or boost the highs. So it sounds a little bit cleaner, as you can see. A lot of times the hats are mainly going to be that. So that's going to be that. So let's. So that sounds a lot cleaner, but this has a little bit more character. So it's up to you and what you decide that you want. But at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. As long as you can hear the damn hat and it sounds like it's doing its job, that's all that should matter. Now let's move on to the close hat, where we're just going to do something very simple. Okay, and then we have a little perk going here as well that hits every now and then. You know, you're welcome to join us, Mr. Perk. And where the hell is the damn perk at? I think it's going to be somewhere over here. Again, we're going to get rid of all the low. You can see the fundamental here. If I reduce on that, it loses power, so. But I don't like it. So it's a lot cleaner if we reduce. So that's what we're going to do. Ways. Alright guys, so now we're going to get into processing the drum bus together as a whole. Now here is where I'm a little bit, a lot of times I don't like to process the kick together with all my drums. I feel like sometimes it might take away a little bit. So I try and avoid that at all costs. However, for this tutorial I'm going to do it and we'll see if it works out good. And if I don't like the sound of it, I'm just going to pull out. Now the reason for that, is that sometimes the kick might trigger the compression that we do on the drums as a whole, and I kind of want to compress the claps, the hats, and the rolling hats together as a whole rather than having the kick be the one, again, triggering the compressor. So what we're going to do first is start things off by doing a bit of compression to our drums, and we're going to use the glue compressor for that. Now, when you go in, you have to have a goal in what you want to have with your drums, and when you hear your drums, you might be going like, they sound a bit too loose. I kind of want them to feel like they're more together, more compact. The volume is kind of very similar. Or you might go like, I'm just trying to get the drums to kind of just be a little bit stable, or get the hats to kind of have a bit more grooviness, or be punchier as a whole. So if you want to go, this is the way we go. If you want it punchier, what I recommend you do is you go full threshold, and then use the attack here to tell the compressor how much you want to let through from the transient. No transient. Some transient, maybe a little bit less. So you can see that there. So let's say you want transient, we can put this at around 30. Sounds good, as you see. And with the release, if you want it to pump, then have it very low. If you don't want it to pump and you want it to grab on after the transient and let's through, then you can use a higher release, which is going to give you the feeling like your transients are just sticking out like ta-ta-ta, a little bit punchier, as you're going to see. So watch. If we let go. Now, I want you to pay attention to the feel you get from it. You know, you're going to feel it more than hear it, like Steve Angelo once said. So you're going to kind of check this out. can kind of feel like the hats feel like they have a little bit more movement. It's a weird feeling. It's very hard to explain, but I hope that you guys can see. Now, let's say that I don't want to do this. In fact, I want to use low attack. You can feel like a difference in it. And let's say you want to have a release as well. You can really feel that one a lot more. That one's pumping like a beast. You can see that compressor. So again, I'm overdoing it here, but it's up to you. How do you want to do it? Now, let's say you do want to over compress, but you want to do a bit of parallel so that you have, again, dynamics and then have that little pump going on. You can put the dry and wet at 50%. So you have half compressed, half not. And then you can have that as well at a very high rate. Now pay attention to the hats, as that's what you're going to hear with this one. You can hear the hats kind of move a little bit more forward into the mix. Volume staying the same as well. So this is what people will refer to as parallel compression or New York compression, and you can see that's how it works. I actually like this one a lot more than the other one, so I'm going to stay with that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is apply a bit of saturation. Now saturation is going to add harmonics to the sound, and if I had to give you a more defined definition of this, it would probably be like, oh, it's going to make the clap and the hats have a little bit more highs, have a little bit more of a rougher vibe. Sometimes if you have a very simple clap that sounds too like, and you feel like it needs a bit more excitement, saturation might be the key. So we're going to increase the drive on it. Now it increases volume, as you can see, and we're going to lower it back down to with the output here to gain stage down. Now once you have it gain stage down, then you can click it on and off to see how it sounds like. And it can sound like, oh, it's not really doing much, but it's adding a little hint of excitement. You got to listen to the clapper, the hats, and it adds like a little bit of highs to it, which sounds a little bit pleasing. Now, if you really want to go apparent, you can use a soft sine or you can use a medium curve, which are a little bit harder. As you're going to hear, it gets loud fast. So again, use it if you feel like it's needed. But if you're using, again, processed drums from like Cymatics or like Sample Pack out there, a lot of times already they come processed. So once we have this done here, I'm going to go with a little bit of an analog clip and just a bit of... I'm going to add a bit of reverb to the drums here, and just a little tiny bit. And this is why I don't like to have my little kick drum be there. But we're still going to add it, just a little hint, like around maybe 10%, 9.6. Now we're going to use the low cut to prevent that, because again, we are using the kick. So you're getting the kick drums fucking reverb. So we're going to kind of do this and move it to the right. And you can see we're still going to get it no matter what. So what I'm going to do is actually make another bus inside of a bus. So busception. This will be my drums, like the standard ones. And I'm going to put the reverb there. So that's how it's gonna sound like. If I get the kick drum out of there, this is how it sounds. So it just depends on how you want it. And in all honesty, I always like the kick drum being outside of this big ass drum bus group that I have, so I can put the reverb here. Just give it a little bit there, and that's all you need. So again, we got this sounding pretty fucking dope. But the key thing here, and let's now Now, if you feel like you need to do a couple of EQ changes because maybe this added too much, that's where you're gonna add the EQ here and maybe say you think you have too much high. And then you can add it back in if you want. But this is how we go about it, guys. Now, the last thing I do want to say is that this is the signal flow of this. So what that means is that, as you know, the saturator is coming after the compression. So that means if I put the compression here, I'm compressing the saturation I just did, making it more evident. If I put the EQ here, then pretty much I'm EQing before compression. If I put the reverb here, that means my reverb is going to get compressed and saturated. So signal flow is very important when you're doing these kind of things, guys. Keep that in mind. Last thing we need to talk about is the stereo image of the drums, because a lot of times if you have your bass be in the center of the mix and you have your drums there, you can choose to have some drums be wide. And the more popular one is obviously going to be the clap, which we already have sounding wide. But let's say you really want it to sound wide. Then you can choose a wider kind of plugin. I really like this one from Polyverse and send the clap into that. So we can put the clap here. Sounds really wide. And then when we play, now keep in mind, when you widen stuff, it has a higher perceived loudness. So you're going to hear it sound hella louder than usual. So you got to be really careful with that. But let's say you want to widen everything, the whole drums, which isn't wrong. There's some songs that do have wide drums and everything. Then you can do that on the bus of the drums without the kick. And then when you hear it now, you're going to have to lower volume. Now, you got to keep in mind, you want to check the mono of the mix down, because if the drums are wide and they don't translate well into mono, you're not going to hear them. So we're going to check it in mono. So you can kind of see the clap in mono. It's a little bit, yeah, so you got to be really careful again with how you're doing all this. So maybe we can make it a little bit. Get rid of that. So the key here, guys, is that you really want to just, as you can see, fine-tune everything as you go until you get a desired outcome for your drums. And again, you can also choose to pan the drums. Let's say you want to widen them, but you don't want to widen them using a widener. But you saw the wider didn't really mess up the phase on anything, which sounded pretty cool. But let's say you want to go with that, then you can make room for your claps and your hats by just panning them a little bit to the left and to the right. That's really going to help. Like the open could go to the right, the close hat could stay in the center, or maybe to the right a little as well. And then the pan hits could go to the left. That's going to be how to process your drums. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And again, I hope that you guys enjoy all of this, guys. If you guys want to support the channel, Confessions Revolution Volume 3 will be coming out this Friday. So make sure to check it out. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new video.
Lost bodies. I can almost hear you. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?